What's going on, guys? And welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I'm your host, Lisa. Justine is my co-host over here, and this is episode 80. Again, cannot believe we have 80 of these, but here we are, episode 80. We are talking to Houston's very own Redefining Rescue. This was a band that reached out to us when they had their song coming out, Way We Feel. It has dropped. It is amazing. I am so happy this band reached out to us and can't thank them enough. So let's just get right into it. Here is our conversation with Redefining Rescue. Like I was telling Jordan, I was telling about Long Live the Lights. That was our first kind of glimpse into Texas because we always have like people on the coast usually or somewhere in the Midwest, but we had a Texas band. I'm like, this is really cool because like I was telling Jordan, I thought like a lot of just country music. I didn't know that. I mean, obviously I know music exists everywhere, even where I'm usually, for some reason, it was like, this is really cool that there's some cool bands coming out and your sound too. And we were kind of talking a little bit too, how it's more of just that nice alternative rock band to have on here versus pop punk bands. I love my pop punk, but it was cool to like hear a sound like yours.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Long Live the Lights, those dudes rock really hard. We're still like just trying to get the calendars aligned to play with Andre and the boys. Would be really cool. And plus, like you said, the venue or the genres in Texas are actually kind of all over the place. Like, yes, you're exactly right. Country is huge, but there's also a huge heavy scene. Like metal is huge, and like I love listening to metal, but that's not us. So it's cool to get with guys like that so that we can kind of blend a little better.
I would definitely, I think that's what, I don't know if Matt in Long Live the Lights was saying about metal, or maybe it was Adrian. Justine, I don't remember, but somebody was talking about the metal scene that it's really cool out there. So I was like, oh, that would be really cool to experience that for sure.
No doubt. Yeah.
Well, again, like, because right now we are still like audio only. If you guys just want to go around and introduce yourself so they'll hear the voice and they'll say, okay, like that's who that is. And then we'll get going if you guys want.
I'll start. I'm Jordan. I play guitar, do some lead guitar and rhythm guitar.
And
Luis.
he sings.
Yeah, he does sing. I'm Luis. I am the lead singer, and I play a little bit of guitar, but I mainly let these guys do all the instruments because they're awesome at it.
I'm Austin. I'm the bass player, and I also like get to help with writing and stuff like that. But most of that, I just play bass and hop around on stage, get my cardio in while we're having the shows.
And I'm Mark, and I hit a lot of things with my drumsticks.
Awesome.
We always really love asking all our guests because we're just kind of curious. But what was your first memories of falling in love with music?
The like earliest memory of like really falling in love with music and a band, this is so random, but our church when I was little had a bookstore, which is kind of crazy. And so you could go and just rent out books and DVDs. And I remember there was a DVD of Switchfoot live in San Diego, like a live album recording. And I remember watching that and being like, oh my gosh, that was my first like introduction to rock music. I was like, this is incredible. And I was hooked since then. And I've seen them play like 8 different times. They're awesome. So.
Oh, the one connection I have to Switchfoot is A Walk to Remember. And I know a lot of people.
There you go.
That's how I got into them, was because of that. And I was so hooked. I think, I don't know if it was Dare You to Move or whatever song they had in there. I was like, this is such a cool band. And I was like on a Switchfoot kick forever. So that's really cool though.
You're gonna get really tired of hearing us talk about Switchfoot because we are all like big into them. Big into
I
them.
wouldn't say all of us, but I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Right.
but that's so cool because that's a band, Justine. We haven't had anyone.
Yeah.
We've had a
I don't
couple
think anybody's
different
really
ones.
mentioned them.
No, so all right, we got it. Some justice for Switchfoot. Austin, if you want to go ahead next, what were your first memories?
Like the first time music stopped being like a background noise thing to me and something that I like zeroed in on and was like, wow, this is actually really cool, was my sister is a bunch older than me. She's like 8 years older. So she would just like pass down her CDs to me. And I remember the first 2 CDs that I got, one of them is Switchfoot's Legend of Chin album. So there's that. And then the second was Reliant K, The Anatomy of a Tongue in Cheek. And that is actually the one, because it's a little more punk rock, that like grabbed my attention, and I couldn't put it down. I started out as a drummer, and it was largely just because like the punk rock sound in that first Reliant K album like captured me. It was really cool.
Reliant K, that's a band that was really huge for me in high school. A lot of bands,
Yeah.
a lot of friends around me. And I hadn't heard that name until I think the other day I posted a reel about a band we just had on, and they're big on suicide prevention and everything. And I posted it, and someone's like, "This sounds like Reliant K." I'm like, I completely just forgot about them for so long. So that was really cool. And it's cool that's brought up again today, because that's a band I feel like now I have to go back and listen to, because they were huge. I would listen to them all the time in high school.
Super good. Very influential for me as a musician, and also just fun to listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were so fun. That's the one thing, whenever I would see them live, I forget who it was with, but it was Warped Tour or one of those tours, maybe it was Sugar Cult or somewhere. But I remember Reliant K was like really big in the scene back then, where they were playing with so many bands.
Yeah, they toured a lot. One of my favorite tours with them, they had From Indian Lakes, and that was a cool like stylistic divergence, where From Indian Lakes is like very progressive, like I don't know, like alt rock meets prog rock, because they've got lots of time signature stuff going on. But them plus Reliant K was just like this like dark meets light sides of punk rock. It was very fun.
Oh, From Indian Lakes. That was when I used to have a music blog. When Stereotherapy was a blog, I got to interview From Indian Lakes, and they were so
No way.
kind. They were so kind. I like have to find it, see if I can find it now. But the kindest band, I had no any credentials to like interview a band like them, because they were what they were doing. But I remember just emailing them, and they were like the kindest around. And no one has ever brought them up either. So this is really cool.
There you go.
Yeah. And what about you, Jordan?
When you asked that, the first thing I thought of was a high school talent show that I went to when I was young. And I just remember, I don't remember what he was playing, but this dude was playing piano. And I was like, that is beautiful. And I love it. And I want to be able to do that. So in third grade, I started learning piano, and then I gave up.
That's about right.
And man, I hate myself for giving up piano, but I did pick it back up in high school, and I play a little piano now. But I started learning guitar in middle school, and so that's kind of my main thing. Yeah, just that high school talent show, inspiring, and I was like, I want to be able to do that.
See, I can relate to that, where I tried to play guitar and I gave up because I tried and I couldn't figure it out. And I was just talking about this with a band we had on. Justine, I know you're going to hear this again, but
That's
we
fine.
were and I just was like, I want to look up and how do I play Green Day? I just want to skip to that. Who cares about
Yeah.
the chords? And yeah, obviously that didn't happen. And it was just one of those things where I wish I would have taken the time and gotten lessons back then, because that probably would have really helped me. But it was just too hard. I'm like, I can't do it, and donated it. But piano's tough though. I mean, all instruments, anyone that plays an instrument or sings or anything, I'm like, my hat's off to you, because I love music, but I have no musical anything to me. So that's really cool.
I think everybody quits piano at one point in their life. That's just like everybody has done that. So you're not alone.
Oh, a lot of kids, the little kids I used to nanny, they were big in piano. Their parents wanted them to play, and they would always tell me, "Oh, we don't want to play piano. It's too hard. It's, I have to practice all the time." And they're still at it though now. So I'm like, all right, they're sticking with it. But yeah, even at age 7, they're like, we're done with this. But what about you, Mark?
Yeah, I've got two different examples that I can really always stick out when I think of how I got introduced to music, kind of like what Austin said, more than just background noise. The first was my oldest sister had an old iPod that had like songs already on it that she gave to me when she got her new, device. And a couple of bands that were on there that I checked out were Breaking Benjamin and Hoobastank. And I don't know.
Yes, sir.
12 at the time. And I remember like being on a road trip with my buddy to Louisiana, and I just got hooked on Breaking Benjamin, just replaying Diary of Jane and a couple of their songs over and over and over again. And I was like, man, this is so cool. And that was, I think, the first time I started looping and just repeating songs because I loved listening to them. And then the other example was during I think it was Hurricane Ike. We had lost power. We were hanging out, nothing to do but just read books basically. And there was a book series I was on, just kind of passing time. and I would listen to music, and Anberlin was a band that I was getting into, and one of their songs off their Cities album was called Finn. And for some reason, just that vibe of that song just fit with the books I was reading, the series. And so that was just on repeat for hours. And it like put me in the world completely. And I realized like, wow, music has this crazy uh, ability to kind of put you in a whole different place and make you feel these crazy emotions that you just didn't really know how to get out without it. So that's like all come back to what I think of my first memory.
Oh yeah. Oh, Anne Berlin. I love Anne Berlin. And I know right now they're touring with, I think, Maddie Mullins is their singer now, which is interesting. I almost want to see that. Like, how do those songs fit? But yeah, oh yeah, that song for sure. I can definitely, and Hoobastank was big for me too. When you grew up and, me being in my 30s and then going and being younger into alternative music, Hoobastank, like that Crawling in the Dark was like, that was it for me. It was like, what is this? And Breaking Benjamin's another one too, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, too, for you guys, something we love to ask too and get to know music scenes. I know Long Live the Lights shared, but like for you guys, what is so special about your music scene?
So music scene, you mean like the Houston music scene or
Yeah.
just specific? Yeah, the Houston music scene, we were talking about this the other day, is just so diverse. Austin hit on it a little bit, but when we go and we play out, we almost never play with bands that sound anything like us, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so it always makes for an interesting show, and what's it called? It's cool seeing fans from other kind of subgenres of rock, even other just genres come together and just vibe out. And so it's cool. Houston also, even the venues are so crazy different. I mean, you'll go and one weekend play in like this tiny little club or bar, and then the next weekend you're like playing at White Oak Music Hall, which is like a pretty big venue like in Houston. And so it's just cool getting to see all the different aspects of Houston. It's so large. So everything is super spread out.
If I can just speak to the different fans of different genres, it's been really funny seeing, or like just really cool seeing different fans for different bands like gravitate towards each band's music that night. So like we've had fans who are there to see like one of the heavier acts that's on the bill, like a metal band or something like that, but they come up to us afterwards and they just like really appreciate what we're doing also, or vice versa. Like our people who are there to see us then go and get with like one of these other bands that is a different genre entirely. It's cool because music is like a really unifying, like universal language, basically, no matter how it's expressed. I tell everybody that like go to concerts, just go to concerts, like whatever genre, whatever band, whether it's local acts or touring acts, because man, it's just like it's an endorphin hit, unlike pretty much anything else that you can do. It's better than a roller coaster.
Yeah, no, like I always tell everyone, like growing up 30 minutes from Chicago and being in that scene and like seeing the explosion of like Fall Out Boy and Rise Against and all of that that's out there. And then coming here now to New Jersey. And I always tell people like there's nothing like those smaller venues. And I getting into the local scene here, and it just is so special and it's so important to get out. And even if I'm having a bad day, if I have a concert and I go into the venue, I'm just instantly better. I feel like you said, endorphin kick. Like it's one of those things that is just, I feel like you can't describe it. You just have to tell someone, go do it. Yeah. And Mark or Jordan, do you have anything to add about the scene?
I would say, I mean, I'll just echo like it's very diverse. We were talking about the other day with Austin, and like we had a show we played, and it's like every band there was, I think, five different artists, and they were all different genres. You had a country solo guy on a guitar open up. You had like a pop rock guy or a pop rock band play after that. You had us, and then you had some like heavier metal kind of band, and then you had a solo act close that was like pop, singing.
Like
Just yeah, it was very interesting, and that happens all the time because there's not really like a super defined scene. It's just kind of it's like a melting pot of different music, and it's cool. Like no one's really against that, and so they're just adding bands to a show, and they're like, hey, if you want to play, let's go. And so like kind of what Austin said, you got these different people that you'd never expect to meet because you're not really in that scene. you start forming relationships and you start having conversations. And it's a really cool way to just meet friends from all sorts of different backgrounds.
Again, that's all reminding me of my music scene back home. It would be, I remember this band, The Hush Sound, was playing in my friend's basement, and they were like kind of that folk indie pop, but then there were a bunch of hardcore bands in the mix. And it was like you would never think they would all mix, but I ended up meeting some of my closest friends that I probably would never have hung out with because they were like in these hardcore bands that at the time I was like, I don't know what this is. But through that, I found that type of music. So oh, that's so cool. And Jordan, do you have anything to add, or did they all just kind of, did everybody just sum it up really good?
They touched on it pretty well, but what I want to say is like when people think of Texas, they think country,
Mm-hmm.
but it is very rare that we play with country artists. I would say we've done some battle of the bands, and that was maybe the one or two times where there were country artists playing with us.
Yeah, I guess anyone listening, it's not just country, because that was my big misconception with Long Live the Lights. Like I said, it just was wild to think like what some of us think that don't live there, and maybe to not do that and just be open to all these music scenes. So that's really cool.
We all do ride horses to school, though. That is a fact.
Yep. And regardless of genre, we'll say yeehaw, y'all. Got to say y'all. So, Lisa, you're from Chicago, but you live in New Jersey. So do you say yous guys or you all?
So everybody here, they say use. It's their big thing, use. Like, are you like use good? Like my fiance, his whole family is big Italian family. So I'm like, I'm Polish from the Midwest. I knew nothing of this, but there's all use, and instead of drawer, it's like draw. It's like all this stuff that I'm like, I don't know. And then my Midwestern accent will pop in there and they're like, you're not from here. I'm like, no, or they'll say like you're too nice almost, because like there are nice people in New Jersey, but it's just funny that they'll pick up on that. So like, hey, I'm just bringing the kindness, but yeah, the use there's a couple other things. So that's what they'll always say. And yeah, big Italian family. So like I get it all.
That's funny.
Yeah.
How has music made a positive impact on your life and mental health?
It just made a huge impact. I think since the moment I discovered it, like I think Mark was saying, music is almost like a steroid for your emotions. And so when you're feeling sad, maybe the best way to express that is pop on a sad tune and cry it out, you know what I'm saying? And you wouldn't be able to otherwise do that, if you're just at work or whatever in silence. Or if you're down and you need to be lifted up, you play that one song that you know is going to lift you up. And so I know for me, music has guided me through a lot of seasons in life. There are certain songs that I think back to that I'm like, man, like there's this band called Laney. And I remember right when my wife and I were getting married, we started listening a lot to Laney. And so there are certain of their songs that'll play and it'll just take me back and I'll get butterflies in my stomach. And it's like all those feelings that we were feeling then. Music has the ability to bring that back. And so as far as mental health, though, I mean, I think music is a good healer. I think it can make you process things in a different way. And so I just love that it does all that. It's not just entertainment. I mean, it is a big part of who we are as human beings, I think.
Oh, I love what you said, all that. I'm like, all right, what can I clip in that a minute 30 that Instagram lets me put in a reel?
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, they only give me a minute 30, but that was so perfect. Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pop in and just say that, yeah, music is incredibly therapeutic, especially like being able to play an instrument. Mark will definitely identify with this, that like if you've had a frustrating day, there is literally, I think, no better therapy for me personally than getting behind the drum kit and just getting after it. Like, it's a physical exercise, but it's also a way to express yourself emotionally. And it's the really cool thing about drums in particular. I know I'm the bassist, but I still like, part of me is still the drummer. And so like what's cool about drums in particular is that you get to put what you want on the song, right? There's not like wrong notes in particular. You can play a song poorly, but you really get to like express yourself over the top of a track. And again, like getting to do that both expressing yourself musically and physically can be incredibly therapeutic.
Another drummer or another drumming used as therapy too. We had somebody on Sunday, I think it was Sunday. And a lot of people say that even if they don't play drums, they get behind the kit and it's just that release. And a lot of people are saying that. And that's so wonderful that it's that form of therapy, because ever since we started this podcast, we find that so many people, I mean, obviously we use it, we don't play it, but we listen to it, but it's so important. So that's so great. That's another great one we're going to have to clip for sure. And what about you, Jordan?
Music has a very special place in my heart, but I think music on itself without words is a powerful thing. And then like poetry on its own is a powerful thing. But when you put them together, it becomes something even more powerful. They compound on each other. And so when there's certain words you need to hear, it can really touch you. And I remember I was a sad young boy, and I'm also a big Reliant K fan, and
Yes, let's go.
I would listen to a lot of their songs, and it would just touch my soul and bring me out of that sadness. And some of those words were just exactly what I needed to hear at that moment.
Or you put poetry with like instrument. I like how you said that. That was like really cool. I love that. I think how you put that was like perfect.
Jordan, was it Therapy off of Forget Not Slow Down?
That I love that one.
Yeah.
But I think Jefferson Airplane
Yes,
was
yeah.
one that I listened to that really touched me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I feel like every time we ask this, Justine, we should just create like a playlist of everybody's songs, and then we would have a really cool playlist. And I'm going to maybe have
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, because I already put like the bands that come on our own little playlist for everybody to check out. But maybe, I just got that idea. Like when you said, I'm like, I don't think I've heard that song. I'm going to need to check this out. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, a few different things that I can think about. One is nostalgia, kind of what Luis was saying. There's a lot of memories that are tied directly with a specific song. It'll play and immediately I'm brought back to a certain place that I love, like a favorite memory. As far as what Austin said, drums and therapy, just playing the instrument. I've been having a hard season recently just because of how busy life is, and in a good way, but it's taken me away from one of my favorite things to do, which is make music and play the drums. And I've realized like when I don't get that time, I'm a lot worse off. And so it's been really cool to see like my wife and I have made it a priority to give me like a small window each week that I can just sit down and play for an hour or whatever. And that really helps my well-being going forward because I've got that release and I've been able to express myself as an artist, and I can go about my week and in a much better place. Yeah, I think music is just supernatural. I think for however way you want to explain it, there's just a way that it touches our souls, and they're just the chord progressions, the way that they're combined, and what Jordan was saying about the poetry and the words behind everything, it just strikes a chord within you to feel a certain way. And like what Luis was saying, if you want to feel a certain way, you can amplify that tenfold with a specific song and really express yourself that way as well. I just, there's nothing. That's what I wanted to say was being able to create music is one of my most favorite things in the world, being a musician. The fact that we're in this band and we're already best buds, but we have this other relationship within a relationship that we can make music together that can impact people's lives in a positive way. That also impacts our lives in a positive way because we get to do this together. And the final product, both the journey and the product, are just so fun to be a part of and to be able to witness like from start to end and all the things that go in it. But I don't know. I'm just really excited for our new song coming out. I'm really excited for the future.
Yeah. And I mean, I know, Justine, I'm going to skip around a little bit, but I kind of talking about your new song. Why don't Why don't we just talk about it? We're going to give you the floor to kind of talk about that way we feel. Like, what about it are you guys, the origin of it? And again, we'll just have the floor. Like, what are you most excited about to have this song out?
Yeah, I mean, this song is man, has been a work in progress for a long time. We were frustrated for a little bit just because it was taking so long to get together, but now that it's done, it's like all that time that we spent on it was worth it. It really is a labor of love. We hope that people hear that. But this song just comes from a special place. It's a song that talks about, us and our souls and checking in on people and really came out of a place where I was just noticing how shallow relationships can get and just begging for everyone to check in on their people, to ask important questions, not just how are you doing, but man, how are you? Like, how are you actually, the person who is in your soul? Like, how's that going? Because I think we skip over that a lot. And I think if we were intentional with questions like that and with checking in on people, I think all of us would be a lot better off. And so that's kind of where this song comes from. These guys can add a little bit more to that as well. But
Oh, but I love that. We had someone on XRE, and she has one about her song "How Are You Really," and it touches a very similar thing. And we were talking about how important that is, because how many times, or you'll ask someone, "How are you?" and they're quick to say "Fine" or "I'm good," even if they're not. So it's so important to kind of check in and do that. Oh, so I love that. I'm already going to look forward to this then, for sure.
I'll pop in and say that the subject matter, Luis, is spot on. It's on checking in on your people, and for me, one of the things that I think is cool that it should bring up conversation about is how I think we're in an interesting place with mental health nowadays, where it used to be taboo to talk about, for anybody to say like, oh, I'm going through mental health problems, or like, God forbid you say that you go to counseling, because that used to just mean that you're broken, there's something wrong with you. Now we're in a place where it's a lot more out in the open, but I don't think that it means that people are actually taking it seriously, because now it's just like, oh wow, that sounds like a really serious problem you're having, you should go to counseling. And so we just automatically pawn everybody off on counseling, you pawn everybody off on medication, and rather than taking that direct personal interest and personal investment in checking in on your people, like Luis said, that's a great way of putting it, because they're your people. Like, if Luis has a problem, I would love to be the one who is able to talk through things with him. Sure, I'm not a licensed professional counselor or anything like that, but even better than that, he's my best friend. So I would love to through that with him directly, rather than punting to the professionals all the time. So that's the kind of thing that we want to hope, like, bring that kind of conversation out by this song.
I love that. Oh, I can't wait to hear it now, because it's such an important thing that maybe some of us don't think about. Like I was saying, my fiance went through a really bad work-related accident, and he was electric lineman apprentice, and it was a mistake was made somewhere in his job, and we were in the burn ICU for like 40 days in
My
Philadelphia,
goodness.
and he has amputations on his hands and feet, and it just those electrical burns. And we really were faced with mental health and kind of wished people around us, when you got home from the hospital, it was like, okay, everybody's good. But I wished we had those people that, and a lot of it is, maybe a man thing. You don't want to talk about it. You don't know how to approach it sometimes. I don't know. But we were in that space where around us, I wish people would have checked in a little more instead of, oh, you guys are good, you're fine. No, like, your friend just went through this big thing. You need to check on him. And even if he says he's good, and it just, I feel like that song's really going to resonate with so many people.
I think for situations like that, I think the problem is we all just feel so like not equipped to handle maybe tough conversations or things like that. But I guarantee for your fiance, I mean, he just probably wanted somebody to listen. And
Yes.
I think that's what all of us want, is just somebody to hear what we got going on. We don't need somebody to fix our problem. We just want an ear. And so I think that starts with all of us. We just have to be brave enough to just initiate.
Yeah, though I love that word initiate because that's so important. Some of us are afraid or not afraid or maybe not sure how to, but that's all it takes sometimes. Like there were so many days we were like, oh, we wish if, when I would have to work and he was there alone and it would just someone to come over and hang out and kind of get his mind off of things because he was navigating this new mental health world for himself after the accident. And it was just, yeah, initiate. That's all. That's so great.
Yeah, I would just add on and say like a lot of people, myself included, have felt like we don't want to ask that question because we don't want to be a burden to them. We don't want to, come up to them and pressure them into having a talk or anything like that. But like Luis was saying, it's a simple thing just to be there for someone. You don't have to be the problem solver or answer all the questions. But people who are going through things, like, I mean, I've gone through some things, and just having someone text you or call you, say, hey, I'm thinking about you, or hey, I'm praying about you, or hey, let's do something if you want, like that helps out more than words can say. And when you do that and the person may not seem receptive, but you can't let that dissuade you from keeping at it, and don't let it just be a one-time thing. Like, don't let it be a thing where it's like, okay, I checked on this person once, I'm good to go. Like, if they're really your person, you're part of that community, do your best to really be there as a person, as someone who loves them, and that'll go for miles for them.
Oh, I love that because that's so important. Those people, I know even in our situation, those people that, maybe they didn't get a reply from him or us during that time, those people that stuck around and were always like the constant, whether it was checking in or just, we're going to come hang out today, or we're going to do that. And it's so important to not just, hey, how are you? Okay, you're good. And then let it stop there because that's, oh, this is so great. Oh, I love this. But what about you, Jordan? Is there anything for you to add?
I think the guys covered it pretty well, but
Yeah.
just talking about initiation, it's funny because that's one of the lyrics in the song is the question, should you or I initiate? And and that's a question we're faced with when we see someone having mental health problems. And it is a kind of a delicate thing that you have to figure out. And, sometimes people don't want to talk about their issues, but sometimes you initiating is just what they need to push them into being open and sharing and into a place of vulnerability because they may not have the courage at that moment to do it on their own.
Again, like I said, I'm gonna have to figure out how to clip all these. That's so important. And I think even us, like when I said when we started the podcast, it honestly was we had one episode, Mental Health Matters. And I was like, whoa, like there's a bigger picture here with music and mental health and the intersection of music and mental health and just everybody maybe having a safe space to talk about how music has made an impact on our mental health, but then just our mental health and get the conversation going to maybe make someone feel less alone. And it kind of turned into that. And I'm really glad because it helps hopefully initiate conversations with each other. Like the bands we have on, they'll say, that conversation helped me through this, or, and even us, like it'll help us through our own mental health. So it's so important.
And it might kind of be closely like tied to what everybody was talking about, but what would you like to see in terms of mental health awareness? Like whether it's affordability or accessibility, what else would you like to see happen to open it up?
I think, like Austin was talking about, I think we're not there yet, but we've come a long way from people being able to talk about mental health. And even just, I took some classes recently, some psychology classes, and just the amount of knowledge that we have just recently in the last 10 to 20 years about how our minds work, the chemicals, how they are balanced and imbalanced at certain times in our lives. Those have just progressed so much recently. And so we're just learning more and more about ourselves. I don't know if we'll ever, as human beings, know everything to know about ourselves and how our minds work, but to see those advancements and just, pray that those continue on. There's definitely the mental side of it, and then there's a physical side of mental health. And I think it's just important to deal with both of those. Talking, obviously, speaking with a licensed counselor is huge, and I think at some point in everyone's life, probably everyone needs to do it, because it's just again, it's just therapeutic to be able to be open and vulnerable with another human being. And sometimes it needs to be somebody that doesn't personally know you, that you can just unbag everything with. And then also, I mean, yeah, the medication for mental health, that needs to be available for people as well, because just like if somebody were to break an arm or a leg, we would want to see that person healed up and get the treatment that they need. How much more important are our brains? It's kind of what I don't know. You guys add to that.
So great. Yeah. I always
I
say
really
that,
like
like,
you mentioned mental and physical, because a lot of people have trouble connecting that.
Mhm.
And as somebody who is chronically ill and disabled, a lot of my issues are tied both initially. Like fibromyalgia has a big tie over between things that I have endured, like mentally and traumatically, along with my body. And I think a lot of people have trouble realizing that there is a heavy connection between the two.
100%.
I mean, does anyone else have anything to add? I know we touched on so much already.
Austin, were you about to
Yeah.
jump
Yeah, I was just gonna say one thing that I think gets overlooked a lot, and I've seen these guys do really well in their personal lives, is physical activity as like an outlet for mental health, and that's gonna look different for everybody. Like Mark was nearly an Olympic swimmer. Jordan's been a personal trainer. Like Luis and I play basketball all the time. It's gonna look different for everybody, but I think that that's a really underrated version of like self mental health care, whatever it is, whether it's just getting outside for a 10-minute walk around the block or something, or whether that is going to the gym, playing sports with your friends and stuff like that. That's something that like the whole COVID season really messed up for a lot of people. Is you take people, like, we were not made to just sit inside behind screens all the time, and if that's what you're doing, it's going to have an adverse effect on your mental health. And so get outside, enjoy the sunshine, take a walk, lift a weight or two, whatever it is that helps you get active. I think that that's the kind of thing too that can have a huge positive impact.
That's actually something we were going to ask. Like, what other tools? What do you recommend? Because yeah, that's so key. Like, that's why I, even with this podcast, if we're like editing a lot or doing something, I always make it a point. Okay, I'm going to get outside, go for a walk, or go to the gym, because I found my mental health. I know a lot of people some people still disagree with that physical aspect, but that is 100% for me, because when I was at my lowest of mental health, when I would get outside or go to the gym and lift weights or go on the treadmill, and obviously music is still there, but getting that physical activity completely helped my mental health so much. And I know some people may just think, oh, someone's just trying to push me to get outside or like work out, but like, is that necessarily a bad thing either? Like, that's your
Right.
physical health. Oh, I stand by that. I tell people the days or the weeks, if ever I don't get to the gym or I don't get a walk in, I have to like schedule it in my day, because it makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, I mean, you even think about, I forget what I think it's called like seasonal disorder or something. Like, people that live maybe in like Washington or Oregon or
Yeah.
something like that, where it's dark the majority of the year, those people go through actual depression, And so
Mm-hmm.
you think about that. Well, what happens to you if you're stuck at home all day, with the shades down, and the same thing is going to happen. And so it definitely is important to get out there and breathe some fresh air. I mean, that does wonders, I know, for me.
I really like how Austin worded it though, where he was like, kind of within your capacity of what you can
Yeah.
do. I think that's a big problem with someone who is like me, who has a lot of conditions. When you go to a doctor and they're like, okay, well, are you working out? Because if they would word it correctly, because I'm also autistic and a lot of my conditions are correlated with autism, and we're very black and white thinkers. So if you don't word something right, I'm not going to really understand what you're trying to say. And I think that is a problem with a lot of people, because if you just say, well, are you exercising? We're all going to think you're talking about like running a marathon or something like that. Whereas it is like what Austin said, like just go outside for like 10 minutes and that is fine. So I really like how you worded that. I think that's really important to think of as well, because what is working out for you is different for me with a condition that is I have a condition that causes exercise intolerance, and getting overheated, overexerted can flare it up. So for me, it's like being upright and doing like gentle things like a walk or something like that, as opposed to like going out and, you know, like I said, like running a marathon, nothing like that. So I think that's really important to think of as well when it comes to that as well.
Yeah, it's all depends on your goals, you know, like if
Mhm.
you're trying to be a professional athlete, then your workout regimen is going to look different. But then again, the professional athlete's end goal is not better mental health, although that may be a byproduct of their workout routine. Their end
Yeah.
goal is to be a peak, like elite level athlete. So their workout routine is going to look different. But if we're just talking about for the average human being that's looking to both benefit their physical health and also their mental health. Yeah, that could look like a 10-minute walk. It could look like go sit on the swing set at the playground or something like that. Just whatever. Yeah, within your capacity. It's a good word.
And I love that you jumped in on that, Justine, because I thought of you right away as that was
Yeah,
being
no, when you
said.
said that, I was like, I really love how you worded that, because I think that's so important.
Jordan and Mark, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Less about physical exercise, but I would love to see more safety, especially within the church. All of us here, well, I mean, not you and Lisa or Justine. I don't know about you guys, but our band, we're all believers in Jesus, and in the church, I think that can often be a place where people feel condemned, and that should be a safe place to bring your issues and your struggles. It's sad that often that's not the case. I'm involved in Celebrate Recovery at my church, and that's a Christian 12-step recovery program, sort of like AA, but it's Christ-centered. So, and I'm happy to say that, you know, I think my church is a place where people do feel safe to bring their struggles and their issues. But too often, we as Christians shoot our wounded.
Yeah.
And you know, that shouldn't be the case. And you know, Romans 8:1 tells us there's therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. You know, that's what I would like to see, at least in the churches, more safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of people haven't brought that up, and that's something I love that that's going to be on here. So thank you
I
so
do
much for
too.
bringing that up.
Yeah. I really appreciate you bringing that up, because I think we need to hear that more.
Right.
Oh, great. And what about you, Mark? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, one thing, like kind of like an anti thing you can do, in my opinion, is limit social media interactions.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
1,000 times yes.
I think there's too much correlation between time spent on social media and mental health, you know, self-image issues, the comparison game, and you know, everyone only posts their highlights. So all you see is, wow, this person's life is way better than mine, because no one posts the actual mundane and average or below average things. And so, like I've experienced, I know tons of people have, but the more time you look at other people's lives, the more that you wish that you were them, the more unhappy you are with yourself. And I mean, human beings are so valuable, and they have such insane self-worth. And if they could just see that without having to look at someone else and look at their value, but just look at their own value. I don't know the solution because social media is so rampant right now, but I think if people could instill some exercises, some limitations in their daily lives to just realize what they're seeing is a facade, and just take time to be thankful for what they have and be grateful for what they have and the opportunities they have, and you know, all the blessings they have in their lives. Just making a list of things to be thankful for really helps with your perspective on life.
yeah, no, social media, that's the biggest thing, even with this podcast to promote it. I purposely will just schedule it where I love that I'm able to do that, because if I had to sit there and I try and like Sundays, I'm like, there's this time, or in the weekends, hey, I'm off. Just hit the schedule button and let it just go out. And whatever happens with it, because I agree, like social media it's tough. And I'm sure being in a band, it's tough too, because you have to promote your music. You have to have those interactions. And especially nowadays with bands being in social media, you have to, that's kind of how you find your people. Like otherwise you find them in your scene, but the people outside of your scene, whether it's TikTok or something, and that's how all the bands have to kind of communicate with people too. And that must be so hard too. Like I can't imagine. Like ours is just, okay, here's an episode, put it out. Like, so yeah, I can't, social media, that's a whole nother.
It-
It's
No matter
hard
what.
to unlink it. For social media is, I mean, if we're being honest, it's not like a personal thing, right? You're not having a conversation with a person face to face, but it's so hard to make it not personal. I mean, everything that we post or do, and if it gets certain reaction, or even if it like doesn't get the reaction, we're like, why don't people like this? Why don't people not like us? You know, I don't know that we ask that question out loud, but I think we all ask it inwardly, you know, like, what's wrong with me? Why did this not do like I thought it would do? So it's hard to unlink those. So it definitely super wise to, yeah, take a break from social media. And I think it's cool. I've been seeing a lot more people, especially kind of bigger bands and stuff like that. They've stopped showing the little like number on Instagram, but it just shows just whatever, all the other information, which I'm like, that's so great. Like, you know, to not know that number, it just kind of helps depersonalize it a little bit. And so I think that's a really cool feature that Instagram added.
I love that
That's
too.
really good. Yeah. Yeah.
A thing that I heard a while back regarding social media and like the way it's toxic on your brain is because it has what they referred to as quantifiable acceptance. Like never before in history has like how much people like me been able to be linked to a literal number. Like can you quantify how much do people love me? How much do people accept me? Oh, well, they only accept me 13 likes, but they accept this other person 13,000 likes. So that person must be 13,000 times better than I am. And then you just get this whole comparison game. Yeah, it's huge. So yeah, unlinking from that is a great word. Mark continually disproving that drummers are dumb. That's a terrible stereotype. Mark's a genius.
I wouldn't say that, but
No.
shameless plug. I don't know if y'all can add this, but there's
Yeah.
a documentary on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, called The Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yes.
Delves really deep into the kind of issues. Like it talks about how great it was supposed to be as a tool, but they never thought about the flip side of the coin and all the damage that it's caused. So amazing documentary to watch.
And even that comparison game, we get it too, where if we see another podcast get somebody that we know we reached out to, and it's like, okay, well, they didn't reach out to us, but then they're going on them. And then that's just, yeah, I try to stay away from that. And I mean, too, I mean, I know we're keeping you guys a little longer, but it's a great conversation. But I want to know with Way We Feel, that comes out at the end of the month, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So all right. So for you guys, I would love to know, is that going to be on all platforms? Are you going to have a video with it at all to go with it?
Yes, yeah, it will be on every platform available, I believe. And we'll be that same week releasing a music video and a lyric video. So that's something that our people have been asking for that we haven't done in the past, but they just want to dig a little bit deeper into what our songs are saying. And so we're excited to be releasing that lyric video and that music video as well. It's our first kind of official music video. So we're pretty psyched about that.
Forward to it, just for what you're talking about. Like, I want to hear this song now, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I know you got that. You've got also Labor Day. You've got the Hullabaloo Fest. What are you guys looking forward to with that?
Well, say there's probably it's exciting to look at the poster because we're on a poster with some pretty big band names.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest bands we've ever been on a billboard with, or so that's really exciting. And we just love playing, and it's been a little bit since we played, and it'll be really exciting to say on that day, hey, we have this song that came out. You know, we've been working on it for 5 years, so
Well, again, yeah, even when I was looking at your music, I was like, oh, this has been a long time coming to have something new out. So this is really exciting.
We had a bit of an unintentional hiatus there for a little bit. Life just got really busy for all of us. There's 5 of us in the band, which I think we actually forgot to mention. Jared is not here.
I was gonna say, I was like, I had everybody down. I was like, oh, well, maybe he's coming, but like it's been so like so, yeah.
No, all good. Sorry, Jared. If, when you watch this back, we love you still. No, but Jared plays guitar for us. Anyway, it just was this busy season of life for us, but it gave us the opportunity to really dive into the creative side of it, get some music written, get Way We Feel put together exactly like we want it, and then we hope to pick up the pace on releasing music, coupling it with visual stuff like music videos, lyric videos, you know, keeping on trucking with playing live. I think that this year and next year are going to be really big for us. So just kind of keep an eye on it.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and that's where can everybody also find you guys? I'll have all the links. I always post them all for everybody to find you guys. But in case someone's just a listener to that, where can they find you? I know you're on Instagram for sure. You have your website, probably all the major streaming services as well. They can find you guys.
Yep, we're on all those streaming sites. Our Instagram is at Redefining Rescue, and then our website also is redefiningrescue.com. And so, yeah, I mean, check us out any of those places.
Awesome, but for sure. But again, thank you guys for taking time for us today. This was so great. And I know we got so many new things that haven't been said and important things. And it was so cool to be able to connect and have you guys on.
And we appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And all right, guys, that was our conversation with Redefining Rescue. Such a great conversation. Again, Jared, we will have to get you next time on here and just complete the whole band. Such a great conversation. They touched on so many things. And again, after hearing Way We Feel, after hearing them talk about it and then getting to hear it, it was like, yes, this was a band we needed on our show. Please go check out Way We Feel. All links below for the band. Go give them a follow on all the social medias as well. Help support all the bands that come on the show. It's a great way to help support hardworking independent musicians. We really appreciate that. As always, if you are enjoying our show, make sure to follow our show and subscribe to us. It's the small way you can help support our show as well as any other podcast you listen to. And if you really love this thing, give us a positive rating or review that lets us know what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, all that good stuff. As for Justine and I, you will see us on Friday. I have a great conversation with a wonderful band, again, from Texas. So you will hear it. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.